Welcome to TMNT Universe, I'm Utermex, and I need to keep my eyes peeled to take a closer look at Donatello as the Invisible Man before he sneaks up on me. So let's go!
Radio stations now. Watch the wall. Help! Help! He's here! He's here!
Welcome back, and I hope everyone out there is enjoying the Universal Monsters TMNT crossover figures as much as I am. Because today we're going to look at another one of my favorite characters, Donatello as the Invisible Man. I love the Invisible Man, I love the Mummy, and I love characters like the Rat King, so what I think is I just love characters who are wrapped up in bandages. And Claude Rains' portrayal of a scientist driven mad by the consequences of experimenting on himself is a perfect fit for Donatello, who could easily get absorbed into his experiments and go a little mad himself. But let's get on with the experiment and take a look at this insidious invisible inventor. And here we go with another TMNT and Universal Monsters figure crossover. This time it is Donatello as the Invisible Man. And another outstanding piece of artwork by Daniel Horn. Every one of these is an absolute masterpiece. And looking at the side, which I still think looks like the side of a VHS cassette, has a picture of Donatello and the logo, the Invisible Man, with the purple outline and the invisible inside. And on the back we have some more callouts. You'll never see him coming. Donatello as the Invisible Man. Watch behind you. Madman or genius, you decide. Catch him if you can. Look out, his secret's under wraps. And once the bandages are peeled, the mystery will be revealed. I like the way all these images line up in an old school poster style, and you've got a little tease here of a cool feature of this figure. Again, shout out to the graphic design on all this packaging. And on the side here, we have some images of the figures that have already been released. And of course, we wouldn't have these awesome figures without these wonderful people. And we also have an accessory list up here at the top in case you forget what it came with. And of course, if we open the flap to the box, we have some awesome figure photography on the inside of Donatello. And over here, we have the actual figure, and the bane of every reviewer is glare. So, let's get him out of this package and take a closer look. As with all NECA figures, it comes with this insert backdrop, this one of a lab. I really do like how each one of these is catered to each individual figure. This particular backdrop comes on some thicker cardboard stock as opposed to the thinner printed paper versions that come with the other monster figures. It'd be more durable and you could use it for long-term display if you'd like. And here he is, Donatello as the Invisible Man. I'm going to start with my favorite part, which is the sculpt. There's some really great texture work on this rubbery coat, as well as the leather pattern on this belt. And this thing around his neck that I think I'm going to call a neckerchief. And I really like the bandages and goggles on his head. Reminds me of the original Michelangelo as the Invisible Man from Playmates. And moving around to the back, since he is invisible, you can see some slices of pizza floating around in his shell. Little details like this always make me happy, and it's fun to see how they come up with these ideas and how clever they can really be with the design. Moving on to some articulation, his head is on a standard ball socket like most NECA figures, and his waist seems to be on one too. So at the belt and the shell, the top part and the bottom part are separated, so you get a little bit of, and it's not necessarily an ab crunch, but he can twist, he can bend down, you can look down, so it's a nice little detail keeping these two parts separate. Now, unfortunately, the bottom of the coat does limit the leg articulation, but it's not really an action character. He's going to be standing in a lab most of the time. And to be honest, I treat most of my action figures as posable statues. And speaking of posing, the arm articulation is pretty standard and gives you a lot of options to do some decent poses that's shown off on a lot of the figure photography. And again, the only action the Invisible Man really had was when he was running down the street naked, so maybe just a pair of pants in running motion? And speaking of naked Invisible Man effect, we have these feet with these translucent toes. It's a cool way to achieve that effect, and again reminds me of the original Michelangelo as the Invisible Man. I just hope this new translucent plastic doesn't yellow like he did. There are a few more translucent parts, but we'll get into those in a minute. Like the other live-action versions of Donatello, he has a couple of ties for the bow. Instead of a rubber hole or loop to push the bow through, you're going to have to actually tie this on if you want it to be on his back. And speaking of Donnie's bow, this figure has some really cool accessories, so let's check those out right now. First off, we're going to start with this alternate head, which has this hair poking out that I'm not sure where it's coming from because Donatello is bald. But really, this is a reference to the original film and the figure that NECA put out earlier this year. And like that figure, the inside of this portrait is hollow, giving that illusion of invisibility. I really like this portrait, but I kind of wish they had taken it further. Maybe unravel the top of the head and leave a bandage out for Donatello to hold, to kind of recreate that scene in the original movie where Claude Rains starts to unwrap his head. Then again, I might just be nitpicking. This is actually a pretty good portrait, but I'm probably going to use the other one when I display my figure. And what's Donatello if he doesn't have a bow staff? Now, they could have gone with any other bow staff, but I like that they sculpted this one specifically for this character. How these bandage wraps are a little more extreme in their design. So it's nice that the character gets something that's a little more bespoke for him. And Donatello comes with this journal with the secret formula for his invisibility solution inside of it. And it comes from TGRI, since a lot of the science things in the TMNT universe are TGRI related, or TCRI, but since this is in the live-action universe, it is TGRI based on Secret of the Ooze. And I love those little Easter eggs, keeping as if this was another live-action movie, but instead of regular turtles, it's monster turtles. And since Donatello and Dr. Jack Griffin are both scientists, we get a little microscope. One of the things I really love about NECA figures is they come with a lot of accessories that you don't necessarily need to use with Ninja Turtles. You could use this with any other set or diorama that you plan on putting together. If you're into figure photography, this particular piece would go with any 1/12 scale set that you plan on photographing. So having a pretty good sized collection of these opens up your opportunities to do some cool photos. And another piece of lab equipment, which might be kind of hard to focus on, is this clear beaker with a stirring rod. And just like the microscope, you can use this with any science-based figure that you have, maybe even the Universal Monsters Invisible Man figure. And last up in the way of regular accessories is this fedora. Now, the original Invisible Man had one, and the Turtles are no strangers to wearing them either, so of course Donatello, as the Invisible Man, has to have his own. And it fits snugly onto this version of the head. Not sure it will fit onto the other one with hair, but a perfect way to display your figure. And we have the usual set of gripping hands, some slightly more open hands to hold the beaker, and we have a pointing hand and what I'm going to call a maniacal hand. And as mentioned earlier, we have this clear plastic invisibility gripping hands. It's not too often that we get feet, but here we are with a pair of clear invisible feet made in that same translucent plastic. I love these clear accessories. It makes me wish we had gotten a clear head, but also it makes me really want a version of the maniacal hand in the clear translucent plastic so that Donatello could stare at his hand as it goes invisible. Donatello as the Invisible Man is yet again another wonderful figure. I love this set so much, and if you have a chance, you should really pick them up. And with Donatello checked off the list, that only leaves 3 figures to go. And I hope you'll join me as I check those out. But until then, later dudes.
Ninja Turtles and Universal Monsters Donatello is the Invisible Man. Comes with everything you see here. Grovel at his power. His turtle power.
From NECA.
Hey guys, if you liked the video, don't forget to kick that like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. I upload every Turtle Tuesday, so you can always come back to see what's new. You can also check me out on various social media, links in the description. And as always, for all things Turtles, check TMNT Universe.